Hi, I'd like to share with you some thoughts by asking you one question. What is your core question? Now, what do I mean by that? What do I mean by a core question? I think that every person has within them some impetus, some question that drives them to go deeper and to seek out meaning in their life. There is something that they have asked themselves, in many cases throughout their life, looking for an answer to that particular question, and it drives a lot of their life energies. Things they're called to learn, things they're called to experience, things that they feel like this is a part of life's mystery that I really want to learn about. And so in this video, I want you to think about what is your core question. Now, here's some examples of some core questions that you might want to consider. Some popular ones are, who am I? What am I? Why do I exist? Why is love? And how can I bring more love about? How can I be peace in this existence? What is my truth? What is ultimate reality? Why do I think? And my question, the one that has driven much of my spiritual seeking for many, many years of my life, is the question, why is there consciousness? And what is it? Now, your core question may be one of these, a variation of one of these, or these may have spurred you to think about something. You can sit in silent contemplation and think about, what is my core question? Look at the pattern of your life and say, is there some question that's been driving you, that you keep coming back to it, that content like books and videos and discussions and classes and things of that nature that relate to these, your core question is something you've always gone to, that you've chased after, hoping that would give you a little bit more information about. What is your core question? Now, how have I sought out my core question over my life? I'll tell you a little bit about my journey in consciousness, is how I sometimes refer to it. It started back when I was very little. In fact, when I was a kid, I can remember grade school, laying out in the grass outside in our yard and looking up at the clouds and wondering about this thing called God that I was hearing about, and what's up in the sky, and why am I even thinking this? Who am I, and why am I here, and why is there this internal awareness? It was something that I thought about off and on as a child, but not very often. I'll admit that. But I do remember thinking about it. I do remember having that burning question in me about, I didn't understand why I existed and why I had these thoughts that appeared to be within me. And they resurfaced to a greater degree when I went to college. In my early days in college, they were saying, well, you've got to declare a major. And I really didn't know what I wanted to major in, but I ended up majoring in psychology simply because I thought psychology was going to help me answer some of these questions about why is there consciousness? And I found that the psychology that I took at that time, very much into behavioralism and materialistic psychology, didn't really get to the answers to the questions I was curious about until the very final semester in my undergraduate degree, when we took a class, and the class was in consciousness. And it was built around a book by Robert Ornstein called The Psychology of Consciousness. And in that, I finally said, this is what I want to know about. This is what I'm striving in my life. This is what I am pursuing and want to understand. Why is it that I have this degree of consciousness? Now, my life went on, and I oftentimes wasn't focused on it as I went through career and family and all of that. But I did continue to seek out metaphysical bookstores and read about Eastern religions and taste various philosophies, trying to get at something that would give me an answer to this particular question. It gave me answers to a degree at times, but oftentimes just raised more questions. Eventually, I bounced into learning about New Thought. That answered a lot of questions for me. I was attending a New Thought church where they offered a master's degree in consciousness studies. That sounded fascinating to me, so I took the classes. That's what led to me to becoming a New Thought minister. And on this path of being a spiritual teacher was that the push to know more about consciousness caused me to learn a lot about life and the meaning of life that made me want to turn around and help others understand their core questions at a better degree. And even after I became a minister, I continued to pursue questions regarding consciousness. I continued to find books that resonated with me and some that didn't. I would read materialistic viewpoints on consciousness and say, this seems incomplete. And then I would read other books that talked about consciousness being the ground of all being. And I said, this resonates with me. And so throughout this whole spiritual journey of my life, I've had a core question that I've been trying to answer. And it gets back to, what is consciousness and why do I have this sense of self-awareness within me? So with that story in hand, what is the question you're asking yourself? What is your core question? As I often mention in these videos, I truly believe that we are all one, that we're all spiritual beings who are moving through this human experience in the physical form of this thing called the material world or earth, that we're all having our own unique experiences in this world, but we all carry within us a certain drive and impetus to find out more, to grow, to learn, to evolve. And that evolution is driving us to remember our truth, remember our oneness. And the thing that is pushing you along and the thing that is pushing me along may be similar, but they're often different. That you've got your own unique core question that you have long wondered about that has pushed you along your spiritual path. So, considering the questions I throw out to you as potential ones, or the one that you maybe have come up with your own, I'd invite you to consider, what is your core question? Take some time in meditation or in journaling to answer that question and find out what it is that you've been pursuing. And then ask yourself, have I been truly seeking the answer to that question? Sometimes we get off the spiritual path because we lose sight of our core question. Find your core question and help it guide you back to being on the path that you're called to be on, to find the answers that will serve you, to help you remember the truth of your life. I hope this has been beneficial. Thank you.